Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition, episode 77 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. Great to have you all in today, watching on the YouTube side, listening on the audio side, Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. Do appreciate that, as always. Mechanical Breakdown Series, our main topic today, Volume 16, breaking down the swing of a certain podcast host who decided this past week to get into the Halloween spirit and play a hitter, a baseball player. Get to that. We've got a couple of things to get to first. So let me bring in professional evaluator, successful business owner, former coach. And you may not want me to use that moniker after this week. Friend and co-host, Jake Epstein.
Which part? Coach, co-host, friend?
Co-host. No, friend. I'm sorry. Coach. Maybe co-host. Coach. Yes.
Yeah. Good to be here, Jim, from the Rocky Mountains. I think we did a podcast last year. Usually we come up here.
You didn't do it there, though.
Around Halloween time.
Yeah, but you didn't do it there.
You can see you people out there, see trees, mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. This is not nice looking right here.
Right.
But yeah, I got some fresh air today. I was in the river for a few hours, and I'm ready to rock and roll with this baby.
So being that you've been in the mountains, have you been watching the World Series? Because Eddie Rosario is still on a tear.
Yeah, I've only been here for one day.
Right. But by the time this podcast is released, you'll be there for a couple of days.
Yes. Yeah, and I saw Eddie hit a pitch at his neck last night.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
You know, his barrel control is really something to admire. And the way he's able to just control the barrel, control the bat on some of the toughest pitches and still hit the ball hard is really, really impressive. And I said Alex Anthopoulos' name wrong last week. By the way, I want to correct myself. Alex Anthopoulos, not Anthropoulos. But anyway, Eddie Rosario's barrel control.
Yeah, he is. Like, he's a hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like a guy that practices a pitch up there and practices a pitch outside and practices one up and in and low and away and down and in and up and away. Like, he controls the strike zone. Doesn't mean he's going to hit everything, but he has a chance to get to it. And there's just so many players, right or wrong, don't have the ability to do that. They just kind of have one swing plane. And if they catch it right with their timing, if their timing's perfect, they're okay. But usually that timing window is so small that, they're not going to be very successful. So yeah, he's a breath of fresh air for sure. You're seeing a lot of it. I mean, I saw Bregman beat the shift in, what was that, game 3?
That was game 3 on Friday.
Yeah,
night.
It was late in the game, and he kept taking down and in, sliders coming down and in. I don't remember who was pitching, if it was Will Smith or Matt.
It was Will Smith, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, the count went to 2-1 or 3-1, and they're down by 2 runs. So a home run doesn't do him any good. And what does he do? He gets a fastball middle away, hits a weak ground ball to the right side, and there's no one within 60 feet of that ball, and he gets on. And then all of a sudden the next person comes up, could have hit a home run to tie the game. And we see that a lot more, where guys are trying to beat the shift in the postseason, because runs are so valuable. It's just interesting. You don't see that during the year.
Right.
And we're just seeing it now. And then obviously we make a big deal of it. So I don't know what's right.
Well, people are making, speaking of making a big deal, they're making a big deal of Ian Anderson being pulled on Friday night too, when he had a no-hitter going there.
Yeah, they won the game.
It's okay, right? They won the game.
They continued the no-hitter, and it's a game plan.
By the way, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Michigan State game on Saturday, but you're on the river, so you didn't. But I did.
I saw the final score, but I didn't see how it got there.
Well, Gus Johnson, who's known for his superbulous calls, he was going crazy at the end of that game. Right. And for people who don't know, I think one of the main things that separates like great announcers like Gus Johnson, for example, is his calls in some of the biggest moments, and he has some of the best of them. So I want to draw that line to hitters. What is the main key? With the announcers, their main key is being able to inflect and being able to make the right call, and make it dramatic and all the other things that go along with that in the biggest points of a game. So what's the main key, though, for a hitter that is something that makes them bulletproof. Because when it comes to an announcer, they're bulletproof if they can make the call in the biggest moments. So what makes a hitter a bulletproof? And you see this in all sorts of professions of what makes somebody a bulletproof in their job. And it's the same thing with a hitter.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about Michael Jordan, right? And they said, he was the most clutch performer in the taking the last shot. But if you really break that down, his numbers were very, very similar to what his others numbers were taking that shot, and he took a lot of them. So, as a hitter, putting yourself in that stressful environment, putting yourself in that, really difficult, fans yelling at you, runners in scoring position, postseason, and being able to slow your heart rate down and be in the moment. Really, it takes a certain person, but most importantly, experience. You're seeing, I mean, you see it with Houston, right? I mean, they're there. What is this, the third time in 5 years they've been in the World Series? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And so they're used to it. They're not going to get freaked out. You get a new pitcher in there that hasn't pitched before in the postseason of the World Series. They get a little tighter, the grip gets tighter, and it gets difficult. So for a hitter to be at his or her best, confidence has to be through the ceiling, not at the ceiling, not 50% over the ceiling. You have to think that you're the greatest person ever to swing a bat. When you're in the box, you have to have that confidence, and you have to not try to do too much. I think, as those moments get bigger, people try to swing harder and they try to hit it harder or further. And if they just relax and trust what they've prepared for, then they're going to be successful in that moment. So confidence, and confidence comes from working hard. It comes from practicing a lot. It comes from the weight room. It comes from, conditioning. It comes from tee work, everything. And you have that confidence because you put in the work and you put in the time. And now all of a sudden you get the opportunity to show how good you are. You don't want to do anything different that gets in the way, like, trying to do too much or getting stressed out.
So be sure to like and subscribe to the show. New episodes every Monday, 9 a.m., Apple, Google, Spotify, and of course on YouTube, our YouTube page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. I want to get to something that I don't think we've ever discussed this on the program. This week when I was hitting, though, I was using my Marucci wood bat. Happens to be Justin Smoke's old bat that he left behind, and I took it. So, Justin, if you want your bat back, I'm down to Florida. But I was using a Marucci, and it's very top heavy, as you probably know. And if you generate some good torque with that thing, wrist torque, and you're really going to whip it through the zone. But it goes back to the old saying that the bat brand or the bat doesn't make the hitter, but it can certainly help. So let's help some parents now. Picking wood bats, aluminum bats, whatever, based off your knowledge, what do you think are the best bat brands out there? And we'll get to the sizes in a second, how kids can decipher with bat sizes and parents in general as well. But bat brands, what are some of the best you think they're out there?
I don't know. I mean, without having swung them, because I'm old now and I don't swing bats, but I used to be able to kind of feel that off the bat. I know the Victus bats seem pretty popular and really good bats. Some of the guys at the lab use the old, it's Prime, Louisville Prime seems to be pretty good. Marucci, their top grade stuff's very, very good. But yeah, it has to feel good to the player. My dad used to always say, swing the longest, heaviest bat you can that doesn't feel too long or too heavy for you. And because you need the leverage, right? You need to build that momentum and build that energy. So in terms of a wood bat, I steer my players more towards a balanced model, like if we go old school, like the 271, a C271 model, the old Louisville model, even an M110 type model, because it's not as end loaded. And if it's not as end loaded, you can actually swing a bat that's maybe an ounce heavier or 2 ounces heavier that will feel the same weight as an end loaded bat that's the same weight, or I'm sorry, that's lighter than that, because of the distribution. And then your mass comes in, right? Mass is so important with a wood bat colliding with an object. So I usually steer my players that way. The real top heavy bats, you got to have really strong hands, really big forearms, strong hands, to throw that barrel and to feel that barrel. But they're obviously to each their own. I tell players, let's get 3 or 4. We'll put you on the hit tracks, with a consistent ball, so we know which bat do you swing the best. We did a cool test. It wasn't at the lab. It was actually in New York. It was in New York City at the baseball center, and with a player that was swinging a bat that was, I thought, too short for him.
Yeah.
He was a high school kid. It was a metal bat, and I was like, "Do you have a wood bat?" He says, "Yeah, my wood bat's an inch longer." I'm like, "Oh, how perfect!" So he actually hit the ball like 2 miles an hour harder with the longer wood bat than a metal bat. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The metal bat should have totally, hit the ball harder. So, testing bats super important. HitTrax has they actually have a what's the word I'm thinking of, like a module that you can select within their program for bat testing. And you say, here's bat 1, 2, 3, here's the make. Let's take 10 swings off a tee. Let's do 10 swings off a machine. And then it'll compare them, which one you hit either more consistently or harder. So
yeah,
test it, find one that feels good, and then test it. There's no perfect science for finding a bat.
So there's really no perfect science then in size, as long as it's regulated. Right.
There really isn't. Like it needs to feel good. I mean, I usually look at a player if they're, tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're big and strong, they can swing something, something bigger. But they have ones where you hold it out straight out, with your arm. And if you can hold it for 5 seconds without wavering, it fits. I don't know. I mean, that's what it is. If you're a baseball or softball player, then, just grab a couple bats and figure it out. That's why Dick's Sporting Goods is so great now. They have a HitTrax in some of their stores. At least the one in Colorado has a HitTrax, so you can go in and try the different bats and see which one performs the best.
Yeah. You know what I always liked? Sam bats. I always like them. Mm-hmm. They're not as popular anymore. I wonder why.
No.
I don't
Is that
know.
what Bonds used, Sam bat?
Bonds used it.
Got a bat, right?
Who else?
Like the logo was a bat, not a baseball bat, but
right. Ravens. It had the bat right on it was the logo. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. Carolina Clubs was one of my favorites back in the day.
What happened? What about Rawlings? What about, nobody uses a Rawlings bat anymore. I don't.
Yeah, the old big stick. I don't know. I haven't seen too many of those.
I always like the natural ash, though. The natural ash bats is what I always like. I never like the matted bats. Justin Smoke's bat is matted. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, it's glossed, not matted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's the company called Mine Bats, MINE, and I met them in there. It's an Italian bat company. They use European beechwood, which is a really cool wood.
Yeah.
Because it flexes like ash, because you can't get good ash anymore in the United States. We've pretty much harvested. I mean, if you've been in the big leagues for 10, if you're like Buster Posey and you want ash, you can probably get it. But otherwise, there's just no good ash anymore. It's because maple grows like weeds. Maple grows really fast, so you can make a lot of bats out of maple. But this European beech has that flex that an ash bat has, but it's dense like maple. So I don't know if it'll ever completely take off and get huge or get big, but they make a pretty nice bat for sure.
Well, I have some brands here. Old Hickory is another one.
Mm-hmm.
There is Ash Rawlings bats still out there, but I mean, again, you don't see.
It's not good.
You don't see Rawlings.
Real thin.
Right. You don't see Louisville Slugger. You think, that bat really, it chafes really easily.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Jeter always used Louisville Slugger, but you don't see that. The Victus bat, I see what you're saying. I'm looking at that right now. The Dovetail Bat, never heard of that.
Yeah, we have some Dovetails, our guys in Texas. I don't know if they're out of Texas or not, but some of the guys swing those.
Marucci, obviously. Yeah, so I don't know. Just thought, different brands, different types of wood. It feels different off the bat. I don't know. I like Marucci. I like the bat that it's Justin Smoke's bat. But
yeah, that he gifted it to you.
He did. He gifted it to me, of course. Yes. All right. Well, be sure to email us your questions if you have any. JimboPodcast21@gmail.com. We've got a couple of listener interactions here. One question, one interaction we'll get to here. So let's get right to it. Our first question, it comes to us via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com, and it's from James in Valencia, California. James writes, Jim and Jake, I hope you guys are doing well. This is my first time writing into the show, and I have a simple question. Why are the people in professional baseball hiring these self-proclaimed movement specialists to hitting coaches' positions? I mean, do they really know the ins and outs of hitting? How about being able to get inside the mind and relate to a struggling hitter at the minor league level? It seems like owners and people in charge are sometimes easily fooled with the next big thing. And he puts that in quotation marks. Great show. And that's from James from Valencia, California. Thank you, James, for the question.
Yeah. I don't know. It sure is a hot topic of conversation. You know, a lot of young 30-something guys that, you know, are quote, you know, movement specialists or swing specialists are getting jobs, you know, in the minor league system. Just like general managers are really young too. They're going for, you know, maybe a different model, a different strategy. You know, I think, I mean, I don't know if that's what the Rays have used. You know, I've been reading a lot on the Mets. You know, the Mets are looking for a new player development. I'm sorry, a president of baseball operations, right? And nobody really wants it. It seems like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, the big guys, Billy Bean didn't want it, you know, and you know, and I get that, but then, you know, the guys in Milwaukee, their general manager, not Stearns, the president, but Matt Arnold, you know, he didn't take it, which I thought was interesting because it's a promotion. But they're going after, and now they're looking at guys that are assistant, you know, general managers that are young and analytical guys. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a very good question. I don't think I'm not sure it's going to last. Maybe it will. I mean, it worked really well for the Giants. You know, they have a couple, you know, hitting coaches, and they were able to, younger guys that put it together and kind of figured it out. That didn't have a big pedigree. I think that having a combination of all of those is important. I think, you know, like myself, I can talk about the swing and how it moves and how to build energy and this, that, and the other. But I feel like I can also talk about, you know, how is that really used in the game, and how do you convey that message to a player? Because every player is different. Some players want more information. Some players don't want information. Some players aren't going to respect what you say. You know, we've talked about that on previous shows, you know, until you prove to them that you know what's going on. But geez, the whole mental strategy and what pitches to look for based on situations and counts, and then having the ability to know if that player wants that information or not. You know, maybe they'll learn it, maybe they won't, but I kind of feel like players move the right way. I mean, like DiMaggio, nobody really taught him how to move.
Right.
You know, now if you're going to take a kid that really doesn't have much ability, right, you know, and that's okay. Like, not everybody has ability. Yeah. I mean, you had very good ability, and we're going to see that. And, but I mean, I have
that was perfect timing. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. That was perfect audio and visual timing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I mean, there's a lot of people now. A movement coach is going to help a kid that, you know, is 10 years old and, you know, can out real athletic. You know, maybe they can play when they're 14, you know, or 15 or 16 years old. But a professional baseball player knows how to move, right? They didn't get drafted. They didn't get signed if they didn't know how to move. So changing, you know, if I get a player that obviously they're in pro ball because they hit a ball really hard. Okay, so this player hits a ball hard. Am I going to make him hit it harder? I don't know. What's the point of hitting it harder? I can already hit the ball over the fence.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of hitting it harder? What's more important is, you know, having a plan, having an approach, getting good pitches to hit, not missing those good pitches, right? You know, having a smart guy that can, you know, kind of walk you through the game and what the pitcher's trying to do. Not someone who can make you swing faster. I don't think swinging faster at that level. I think swinging faster at age 10 or 12, yes, you're going to see a lot of benefits there.
Yeah.
But once they're already professional players, like having a movement specialist, And I could be wrong here, but I don't think that's now if he's a movement specialist, but he also has a background in baseball and, knows the game, then, obviously those guys are going to be okay. But just being a movement specialist, that's not going to help somebody compete at the big league level.
I made fun of our YouTube, movement specialists. I have so many things in my head. Made fun of the movement specialists a few weeks ago on Twitter. And as it stands now, I said this yesterday too to somebody. I talked about how how players need to organize their body, and especially catchers nowadays with the one knee catching. But sometimes it's not that easy because they're not as mobile. Some players just aren't as mobile. But in terms of reorganizing the body and whatnot, you know what? It doesn't really matter because, again, they have that base that got them there to the major league level.
Yeah, they're athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they move. I mean, can you make it move better? I don't, Like, it's funny. I watched and again, I'm not seeing everything, but I watch, Ron Washington and other people like hitting his guys' little fungos, right? And they're all on a knee and they're just working on their hands, and,
Sure.
Fielding through balls and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing them do all kinds of crazy footwork stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not seeing them, okay, here's the ball here. We got to tap, 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 and then get over to this. They're working on their hands. They're working on, catching the ball. And I don't know. It's the same thing. Like those athletes are going to get their feet in the right position to make a play.
Yeah.
They're not going to have to think, oh, I got to get around this. Oh, I got to get my left foot to go first or my right foot to go first, or I got to drop step here. They're going to react to that pitch because that's why they make a lot of money, and I do think the game is overcoached at a lot of levels, but I also think, repetitions, like if you just hit somebody a lot of ground balls, if you throw a catcher a lot of balls in the dirt and make them block it, I think the ones, that are going to be successful at a young age, they're going to do it automatically. We don't have to overcoach that move and make them too cerebral, because I think that's unfortunately part of the youth game is kids that are just too thought forward. They're just, okay, what do I do? What do I do here? And you want them to react by preparing them the right way, by practicing the right way.
Well, James, thank you for the question. I'm pretty sure we answered for you. Be sure to
thanks,
feel free to write in.
Valencia, is that where all the oranges are from? Valencia oranges, or is that Italy? I don't know.
No. The oranges are from Florida.
No, they got a lot of oranges in California. Come on, man. I mean, I know what you're getting at. There was a movie. What was that movie? Trading Places.
Right.
Where the frozen orange juice market took it in the shorts in Florida. But no, Valencia, for some reason, I think that's a big orange. Not everything happens on the East Coast, Jim.
James, write in and prove me right and prove Ep wrong.
I'm just trying to get another listener on board, like JJ.
Yeah. Speaking of which, JJ did
Shawnee,
write us.
Right?
He did write us. He did respond, and he had a listener. How do you know?
Oh, I don't know, but I know like JJ and Shawnee, like we're all together now. Like we got a Shawnee versus the world, right?
JJ has in his email to us, his listener interaction, he has proven that he does not dislike me. He has made that point very clear.
No, that's not right. Everyone dislikes you, Jim.
Correct. So JJ writes to us via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. He writes, Jim, thanks for taking my questions. I don't dislike you. I think you do a great job with these podcasts.
I don't dislike you.
I can't help it if you don't appreciate the cultural phenomenon that was Shawnee against the world. You had a different Shawnee in mind. That's unfortunate.
I love it.
JJ, we have listeners that in Medford, New Jersey. I have the analytics on that. And Shawnee High School is in Medford, New Jersey. And so they probably won't be happy that you're putting your Shawnee above their Shawnee. But nevertheless.
I think there's a Shawnee, Kansas, too.
There is, yes.
There's a lot of Shawnees. Popular.
Well, anyway, he said, check the link below for a video of Aaron Judge's minor league swing from 2016 before Teacher Man. Scroll to the 2-minute mark, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. By the way, I want to clarify something that went with JJ and everybody. Last week when I said Aaron Judge's swing in the minor leagues was different, I meant in the very low minors, not so much in 2016, because JJ is indeed right that his swing in 2016 doesn't look as different. Some would disagree. Then it doesn't look as different as it does now or as it did in 2017. But he went on to say, JJ, I still don't believe there is that much of a difference between Judge's minor league swing from 2016 and his current swing, other than he can the coiling leg kick and he loads into his back hip more. He still has no bend in his knee in his stride. Maybe Jake can mediate or clear it up with a mechanical breakdown. And that is from JJ. As always, loyal listener, JJ. Thank you, JJ. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at Judge, and I watch his swing. Yes, I mean there's not a lot of adjustability in the swing.
Yeah,
that would probably be the biggest. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a gripe, but if there's one thing to change, it would be the adjustability within his swing. It's mechanically he doesn't have a bad swing. He's short to the ball. Usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, but when he hits balls well, he extends through it well. That's the only adjustability he has. I thought, the swing the last half of the year was excellent. I thought he was in a good spot. But yeah, I feel like his load coil is what it is, but I don't think it's bad. I don't agree that that's the whole part of the swing. Is whatever it is. A 10-year-old doing that is not going to be on plane. So the problem is I see that coil and that unloading or whatever, snapping or releasing or whatever it is. And the plane, the swing on a tee is like, they're swinging up at like 25 degrees. So to me, like as soon as you get to high school, you're just going to roll over everything. You're going to top everything.
Yeah.
You're going to pop up to right field. I saw similar moves in action at the college level and they don't work. So now you could coil and load your hip and do all that stuff and also have a great swing plane, which Judge does on occasion. So it's just, there's different parts to the swing. It's not just one piece. You have to take all the pieces together and put them together.
Yeah.
Or all the pieces together and put them into one.
Well, I mean, isn't one of the, I don't know, because we've gone over the absolutes, but isn't maybe close to an absolute? Well, isn't an absolute though really loading your back hip, right? And coiling that back hip and, the inward turn, so to speak, as Ted Williams put it, and you put it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about it, right? I haven't researched exactly the coil, snappy, whatever.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what Ted Williams talked about.
Yeah, he was a front hip guy. So he would hitch his knee, called a little knee hitch. He would roll his knee in and that would cock his front hip, is what he would say, cock his front hip. Yes, that does set your back hip up. But if you lift your front foot up and your back foot and knee stays stable, then your weight is in the right spot. It's that simple. If you lift your front foot and your knee starts to wobble or your ankle starts to wobble, then your weight is not in the right spot. And then you got to start to load into that hip or into that glute a little bit more. But, I usually see if there's a problem first and then fix it.
Yeah.
Versus, all right, everybody do this. If you don't need that, don't do that. It's kind of my motto. I'll evaluate a swing and say, this is good, this is good, this is good, this needs help. Let's go after what needs help, not what's already good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of somebody who needs help, let's get into our mechanical breakdown series, volume 16.
Greatest segue ever.
Me. Yes. Here we are. We're gonna have a little fun this week.
We are.
So
all right.
Let me pull it up here, Jim, on my phone.
You got the clip on your end, right? So we got We got Jim Tarabocchia here and hitting an outside pitch.
I'm in great shape, by the way.
In great shape. In beautiful Florida, home of oranges and strawberries. So I'm going to stop Jim. We can't see whoever videoed this was. It wasn't good. It's not good. I think you can see his feet, for crying out loud. The camera's on the ground.
Let me just say that Nobody filmed it. The only place I could put it was try to prop it up on the ground.
And you did a
So
good job.
no, I didn't. I'm sorry.
At
So I
least you had
apologize.
somebody throwing you a pitch.
Yeah.
So first position we're going to stop old Jimbo at is about heel plant position, assuming we could see his heels, which we can't. But I'm a professional. So the great part about this is his chest is facing rearward, like behind his back foot, and his hips are opening. And this is very good. So, with our rough estimation here, Jim's got 37 degrees of separation. Regardless of what that number is, the fact that his hands are back and his front foot is down is a great move. Okay. People only think Jim is a podcast host, but he was a Division I baseball player. Don't sell yourself short, Jim.
All right. Well,
and one hell of a model American. So
that's what I like.
As Jim comes through, and the next position we're going to take him to is the short approach. Okay. So the short approach is when the chest starts to open. Okay. And if we look at this, the knob of the bat is right above his elbow. His elbow might be an inch inside. The bat is definitely within range. Okay. Meaning it's next to, and this is an outside pitch. So he's going to start to extend a little bit more. And then I'm going to draw another line, if it was over his trap muscle. So on an inside pitch, you want the bat closer to your ear. On an outside pitch, it's going to be, more on this angle, but he's in a good angle here. There's no casting or anything like that. If we take him to the next frame, his approach position, the barrel's slightly below his hands, but not too bad here. Obviously, the back knee's coming in, his back heel straight up. I know it's hard to see, but we can see the outline of his shoe there. The front leg is starting to straighten, right? The front leg was bent. Now it's starting to pull back, pull his hips through. Now his barrel drops in after the approach position. And if we look at the next frame, maybe it's like this. The shutter speed on whoever was videoing this was, just ridiculously terrible, which is sad because I have a hunch that, the person's phone is an iPhone that has a slow motion feature, but that's okay. Amateur videographer. But we can see the barrel release and pretty good extension. So if you look at this, it's a pretty nice swing. This is a swing that is still there. I know you don't hit anymore. Okay. No. I don't remember what your swing looked like when I first trained you. Good Lord. When was that? Early 2005 or something? I don't know.
10 years ago. No, 12 years ago.
12 years ago. So 2009, somewhere around there. If I were making suggestions to this person that's not as young as he used to be, it would be to get wider, get that front foot out a little bit further, get this back knee down, kind of this back shin driving down a little bit more, just get in the legs a little bit. The swing plane looks good on this pitch. This pitch was, away. It was probably belt high. You had good extension. So I would love to see what you look like on low pitches and forcing you to get into your legs a little bit more. But the guts of the swing are great, man. There's no casting. There's no arm bar. You can see your right arm actually, when you're striding, is very straight. Okay. But then as soon as you go to rotate, it actually bends more. And it's an outside pitch. So this is a pretty athletic move. Okay. You can see that right arm bends a little bit. You can see the massive forearm strength that Jim has. You can see the muscles bulging. It's good. And then, the barrel raise. Another concern I would have would be at extension, your power V. Watch how aggressive your left wrist rolls over your right wrist, or your left forearm rolls over your right forearm in your power V position. That could be an issue out in front. So something we'd work pitches middle in, hitting them out in front, and then not doing that to make sure that we weren't too aggressive with our top hand. But all in all, for a podcast, guys, it's definitely the best swing of any podcast, host in the country.
Ever.
Of
any podcast host ever. Even better than Joe Rogan's swing. So you would fix the wrist. You would fix that. A simple fix would be to just throw middle in.
We would do a lot of the extension drill that I do. The contact / extension drill on pitches middle in, just to help keep some space between your right forearm and your left forearm after contact, to make sure that's not an issue. Now, sometimes that wrist issue also leads to some power. You talked about having some hand torque earlier today. Hand torque is good. It's a barrel release, getting the knob out in front and then releasing the barrel. But it's not for you. It wouldn't be your left wrist rolling over your right wrist. You have to release the wrist with the palm up, the left palm up, and that's a hard thing to do. But I would work on that, getting you wider and lower, kind of.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I was going to ask how do we go about that? Doing again wider and more into my legs.
I would, we could bust out a stance doctor unit, make you stride a little bit further.
Good plug. Okay.
Yeah, that was a nice
Steve.
plug for old
There you go, Steve.
So getting wider, and then, I just tell people to sink into their back shin, hold a little bit more weight on that back foot. Jim, you throw left-handed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So lefty, it shouldn't be an issue getting you wider and lower. Just sitting back and down. But as you sit back and down more in your legs, we just have to make sure you don't swing up too much with your hands. Because sitting down and back with your legs will make your barrel work up more. And so we have to counteract that with our hands and our upper body.
All right. Very good.
All in all, Hall of Fame swing.
Yeah. Sorry, what about when
Are you just admiring your swing?
I'm trying to find more pointers here. That's all. What about after I'm starting to roll over here? I'm in a pretty good spot. No.
Yeah, but that spot doesn't matter.
Yeah. Damn it. Damn.
Funny, the hair looks good. Like at the end, the hair, little hair flip looked pretty good too.
That was not a hair clip, my friend. That is a bandana. I've worn that.
No, the bandana looks good. No, I mean the hair coming out of the bandana in the back.
Oh yeah,
the long flowing locks.
Not bad for a 30. I'm not going to 32-year-old.
So young, full of life.
I am getting a little gray. The one thing that what do you think of the stride?
Yeah, it needs to be, the stride speed is great.
Yeah,
like I felt like your stride and rhythm, like all that. I just would like you to glide out more. Get that right, get your right hand, or I'm sorry, your right foot gliding out a little bit more, because I think you'll get, probably, I mean, if we go into movement coaches, okay, you're definitely going to get a little more ground force if you get wider and you get lower into your legs.
So wider in the stance, you're saying?
No, wider when you land.
Okay.
Yeah, your stance is fine. The rhythm's fine. It's just if you just kept your foot kind of gliding forward a couple more inches as you were sinking into your left shin or your left knee, that would do wonders for your swing.
And so years ago when you trained me, I had the same thing with the right arm, the front arm, where it would kind of straighten out in the load. And we talked about this 12 years ago, how I would bring the hands back to the shoulder after I had the arm straight.
Really?
It's the same exact. The move has not changed in 12 years.
I know.
Amazing.
I move in 20 years later, still the same move.
It's crazy. Yeah. I don't know if it's a muscle memory thing. I don't know, but
it's what's in there, man.
Yeah, which isn't much. All right. Well, that wraps it up. I guess the best part of the swing is the hair.
For sure.
The locks.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody enjoyed that. So now you can all write me in, and
now we can get to the real hitters this off season.
Right. That is coming up. That was very mean. That was, you said the real.
No, I was segueing.
You said the real hitters.
Well, the ones that make a paycheck doing it.
Just gonna let it sit there for a little bit.
Just gonna walk out of the room.
I'll let you stand alone on that one.
Speak the truth, Jim.
Well, still got the nice head of hair. Next week.
When do we start the off-season stuff?
So next week we are talking about the top 10 free agents as we see fit. We're going to discuss them a little bit, a couple of elements, a couple of ways we can go with that. And then the following week, we begin with our mechanical breakdown series of each of the top 10 free agents, starting with Buster Posey, who will be a free agent at the end of the year. And he's the best free agent catcher, in my opinion, on the market come this winter, if there is a free agency. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah,
of course, with
gosh,
baseball and the CBA might be coming up.
I know. I'm not sure I would give Buster Posey a new contract.
With the Giants, or are you talking about a free agent contract? Well, hold that thought.
I think Buster's about done.
Well, hold that thought, because we're gonna.
I can see Buster as a first baseman, but it's just you get old. It's hard to catch. It's hard to catch and hit.
So you're saying you want us to change Buster?
I would love to see Buster Posey as a DH or a first baseman and see what kind of offensive numbers late in his career he could put up without the grind of catching.
Right. But I'm saying
he's been hurt for like 4 years. He just plays through it, and he's a tough dude.
Well, he sat out last year too.
Mm-hmm.
You got a phone call.
Don't worry, it's just the former president of the United States.
Well, which one?
Abraham Lincoln.
Okay. Okay.
My favorite president.
Abe Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Abe is a babe, as they say.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but Abe was a good dude.
So do you want me to change then? Are we not doing Buster Posey in 2
No, we can do Buster Posey. His swing is flawless.
Yeah, he's a flawless guy.
I mean, he has fantastic swing, fantastic mechanics. Yeah.
Well,
I use him for a lot of the players.
Yeah.
He's just past his prime. I mean, it sucks. It sucks getting old.
Yeah. I'm not past my prime though.
No, you're right in the middle of it.
No.
Yeah.
I sense the sarcasm.
None.
And then in a couple of weeks after that, we're going to be breaking. I mean, this whole series is going to be kind of cool, right? Because we're going to be breaking down Marcus Semien too.
Yeah.
There's going to be a good one.
And we got Correa, I think.
Correa's in there.
Really great.
I mean, we
shortstops, right? I mean, this offseason is going to be crazy.
Yeah. And we're going to be right there with everybody breaking down the swings, right there with you, even if there's no CBA or not. We'll be right there.
We're going to be doing our work. Episodes 78 and above.
Right. For the first one is 79. Next week, 78. Again, for those who missed it, we're going to be discussing the top 10 free agents, which we're already kind of doing right now. So we have to save some material for next week. Let's cut it. That's right. Enough talking. Enough of this talking. What do you got coming up at the lab? You're in the mountains right now, but you'll be back.
So I'm not at the lab, but my dudes are just killing it down there. Yeah.
Right.
I'll be down there next week.
Yeah.
At the lab. So I always have players I get to yell at, make them feel bad about themselves for 5 or 10 minutes and then build them back up thereafter.
Yeah.
It's always good, especially the softball players. They listen to this. I don't know why, but the softball players seem to listen to the podcast more than the baseball players.
Why? I wonder why is that?
I don't know.
Could it be my voice?
But Wiggins and Yates, if you're listening, I'm coming for you the next time I'm down there. We better be better than the last time I was there.
Are those softball players?
Yeah, they're pretty good too.
Wiggins and
By the way, I got totally slammed because of my Texas A&M shirt.
You did by Cassidy Shomo's mom.
Yeah, and then Cassidy and then Bailey Hemphill commented as well.
They piled on.
Notice you don't even know what I'm wearing right now.
Right.
There's no logo on it.
Right. And in the spirit of Halloween, those shadows in the sun in the background kind of makes you look like a ghost.
Ooh, I did look like a ghost. It was like this.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, hey, look out. Ep's a ghost now. Oh my God. Yeah, they were piling on you. And I got out of that.
I give equal love to everyone.
I got out of that.
I wear Missouri stuff. I wear Alabama stuff.
Yeah. They just ignored me completely, which is good. I don't want to get into that fray.
No.
That's on you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're done, everybody. Thanks for listening and watching on YouTube. Subscribe, do what you got to do. And if you don't, well, whatever, you're lost.
Have a happy Halloween. Hope you had a good Halloween.
I guess. Yeah. I hope everybody has a great Halloween. I guess. I don't really care about Halloween. I care about Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah. Right.
Naturally.
Not Halloween, though. No, I care about more my fantasy team and the teams I might wager on rather than Halloween. All right. We talked too much. We'll see you later, everybody. Bye-bye.